let's talk about, and I know you have been doing yoga for years, and
26 years.
26 years.
I'm
Can you,
sorry, 28 years.
28
Sorry,
years.
one of my fingers.
Wow.
Can't count, but I can
Can
practice,
you
right?
take
Yeah.
me back to where the desire came from?
Absolutely.
Just take me back to where
I
that
was,
you knew this was something you
I know,
wanted to
yeah.
do.
But
Okay.
I was exposed to yoga in the late 70s through a book by Ram Dass called Be Here Now. But we would drink wine and read this book, so I was learning about it. But then in the late 80s, I became a single full-time parent of a soon-to-be teenager, and as a parent, you're responsible for lots of things, right? And one is to make sure that the communication is balanced and even. So as a parent, you're not to escalate the situation, you're to de-escalate. Well, yeah, yeah, right?
Okay.
It doesn't mean we're perfect. That's a practice just like yoga. So I was finding that I was having a lot of headbutting with my son, and I felt my responsibility was to try to bring that down a little bit. So I thought, well, yoga is to help relax you. It's to help us quiet and focus the mind. So at the Center for Health Research, where I worked for 25 years, the one of my coworkers was teaching a free class, and so I started to take that class, and then from there, here I am.
Wow, your love grew that day.
Well, there's no doubt about it, and it was, and the thing that's interesting too for me is I'd come home from class and I'd have an argument with my son. And then I realized that I needed some downtime after the practice to kind of settle myself. And I thought, okay, maybe the next day we'll have the conversation about homework. I'll go home and we'll just chill out together, right? Because there was some transformation going on, which still is going on to this day. And then so part of what I came to yoga for is to try to balance my emotions, like anger and automatically responding quickly to things. And it's usually when we do that, it's not usually the best response.
I
A
understand.
more
Yes.
measured response based on the meditative
Yes.
state of being is more helpful for a relationship, all relationships. I mean, oftentimes, and especially for guys, having a response is like what we're supposed to do. So I always encourage my male students, or when we talk just together, to back off of having to have a response for everything and just listen. So yoga should teach us that.
Mm. I was just thinking last night, I had an example of reacting too quickly. So I'm pondering that. But you know what? I make mistakes and I forgive myself and move on and
So key, yeah.
try and do better. So not only do you have a yoga studio here in Camas, I see so many beautiful things you do for our community, which really resonates with me. So can you just talk to me a little bit and our viewers about some things in the community that you do, local and a little, I know, in Oregon?
Yeah. I started the studio to build community, to try to gather together like-minded people. I lived way out in Washougal. I worked in North Portland. I kind of just passed through, right? So I wanted to build community. And it's my response. Yoga is an art, a science, a philosophy, and a discipline. And it's our responsibility. In the Bhagavad Gita, it says you have a duty to do good work in the world and to not be attached to the results of that work. So then I feel it's my duty to share that philosophical concept, and then also to take the next step to do something. There's a word called karma that everyone knows, right? Karma means action, right? The duty is to take action. So if you see an injustice, a social injustice, whatever that means to you, then it's our duty to act if we can, to give back. So then it was my job to figure out where do we need to go in the community, where does work need to be done, and how can I coordinate that with the students. So we've been doing food drives since the very beginning of the yoga studio, 15 years now. We've been supporting the Safe Choice program at the YWCA. We support Share Vancouver. So I volunteer sometimes at a shelter. When one of the students here takes a whole week and runs the shelter through his church. It's a really beautiful thing. And so, a life of selfless service is where we're headed in yoga. And that's not unique to yoga. There's lots of wisdom traditions that have that same idea. And then we, beyond our community, a few years ago, when I thought the world's closing in on us, so that we're all more connected now, or I use that term loosely because I don't consider it being connected, but things like Medicine Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders, who my wife worked for 7 years, in and out of Africa and Paris, and so that's an organization that we support. So we have just an ongoing awareness. Every single month we have a little party down here, and there's something to be to talk about as far as awareness in our community or the bigger community. So Doctors Without Borders, the ACLU, Planned Parenthood, there's a long list of things that we pay attention to here. And so mostly it's just to bring awareness to the fact that there's lots of good work to be done in the world. That's our responsibility to do it. Here are some opportunities, you know? And so I don't say, donate a bunch of money, go do this, do that. I just create an environment where we can, or I bring topics to the students that we can discuss together and learn for ourselves the idea of giving back. And then maybe one of them might go, you know what, I'm going to go work over here, or I'm going to give my time at school, or I'm going to do this. So, you know, there's no like sign-up sheet for what you're doing, good work you're doing in the world, but that's where yoga should move us, you know, as we learn to create a more meditative state and we have more time between the thoughts, we should notice what needs to be done. And just like in the reading, he said that understand that divinity within, right? And that's universally unique to you and unique to everybody else, right? So you have to discover what that is for yourself. But if you're bouncing around all the time and you don't have any space between the thoughts, you're never going to see that person that needs your help right there in front of you.
One thing I love that you do, and you didn't mention it, but I want to. You go and teach yoga at a corrections
I
facility.
purposely didn't mention that.
I know you didn't,
I know,
but
because when you do work in the community, it's you do it just to do it.
I know.
And I don't like to wave my own flag.
I know, but I love
teach.
that one.
I've been teaching for 6 or 7 years at the Columbia River Correction Institute. It's a men's minimum security in Portland, Northeast Portland. Yeah, and it's a wonderful opportunity for me to teach these things I've already been talking about here to a group of people who are really open to it, because these guys, it's a minimum security, so most of them maybe serve time elsewhere or they serve a little bit of time there and they're learning skills to get back out into the community. And so I'm teaching them skills at least I'm hoping I'm teaching them skills to get out in the community. And they are sometimes surprised to find out that yoga is not just stretching.
Yes.
You know, that asana is just one small part, asana posture is one small part of the bigger picture of yoga. Yeah.
Right. So one thing I love that you said, and I just, to end this community note, not that I could go on forever about that.
Obviously, right?
I love it. I love what you told me before the interview. You said, don't worry about what am I going to get out of this? What recognition am I going to get? What, checkbox? Let it happen. Let the time you give, let the love you give, whatever you're giving out there, give it and see what happens with that. And I really loved you telling me that before class because it's so true.
Well, and I said a little bit more there, obviously,
you
right?
did, but I'm summarizing.
It's just like when we have a desire and when that desire isn't met, it leads to disappointment. And that's kind of the Buddhist wisdom tradition, they would say that, right? So if you have no expectation of getting anything out of this, then you're freeing yourself up to have an experience in that moment. So if I think I'm going to get something about it, you're thinking about what's going to happen in the future. You know, and if I think, well, last time I did this, I really screwed up, then you're in the past. And both of those states we need to be aware of. But if we hook ourselves up with the past all the time, then it's kind of like, oh, I should have done better, all the shoulda, woulda, couldas, and then the future's like, well, here's what's going to happen later. Well, the past is over and the future hasn't happened yet. Right. So that's why we're always trying to gravitate to right now. And it's not easy because it's a practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Practice, practice, practice.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thank you so much for watching this interview today. Don't forget to subscribe on the left side column of my website. You can enter your email address and you'll get a notification every time I post a new interview. Just a Girl in Camas is a 501c3. Your donation helps me support our community and bring us together with these awesome interviews. Thank you so much, and I'll see you around town.